Okay, folks.
Okay, folks.
We're going to start because I have a lot to share with you today. And first thing I want to share is that I goofed last Sunday. And I conflated Babiyetu, which means our Father, with the 23rd Psalm. So Babiyetu is based on the Lord's Prayer. So my apologies for that. And at the very end of it, I gave you the text for Babiyetu, and also at the very end of the session, if we have enough time, I'm going to play you the song. Okay, so that's the first thing.
You need to introduce Joe.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. This is J.R. Is it Cox?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Who corresponded with me via Facebook Messenger, and he's a seeker, and we're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
And my apologies for not being as polite as Arlene is. I am discombobulated this morning, so because several technical things didn't work the way I thought they would. So, but and I think we will take just a minute. JR won't remember all the names, but let's go around starting with Jeremy and just give him your name.
J.R. Cox.
Jim.
Jim Needham.
Okay.
Coral Perlin.
Karen Brown,
Arlene.
Arlene Leonard.
Let's go back to Bob.
Benji's.
Joyce Meredith.
Penny Doctors.
Judy Jallett.
And J.R. Cox. So
And
we're
Jane's coming in the door.
yes.
Jane Lane.
Jane is one of the other former teachers in the class. So okay, so there's my apology. Babiyetu is from the Lord's Prayer, not from a psalm. So my apologies for
And I gave one,
misinformation.
and I gave one to Dorothy, so she'll be ready to
Okay, good,
say it correctly.
good. Jane covered a lot of this last week, but I want to run through it and give you examples from our hymns as well as from other sources. So
Let me get some hymnals. You want me to go get some hymnals for you?
nope.
Okay.
Nope. We won't need it.
Okay.
These are the 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 types of psalms that the author Estes talks about. The 10th type he simply calls the introduction. And I'm not quite sure why he makes that a separate category, because it's just Psalm 1. What I did do was go through and took the prime examples that he makes. For instance, for descriptive praise psalms, he talks about Psalm 145 as the example. And so I went through our hymn book in the back that we talked about last week and found hymns that were related to that. And sometimes it's the references just to 1 or 2 verses, but I have this out here. I printed it off for you if you want to investigate it further. But now we're going to go through and talk about each of these kinds of psalms.
Are you going to sing them for us?
I will sing them all for you with a little help from my friends.
With the song too.
And I want to define each of these as we go along. So descriptive praise psalms. There are about 20 of them, and they describe praise and revel in God's general attributes and deeds. Okay, so they talk about His greatness in a very broad sense. Okay. These are the ones that the author lists as descriptive psalms, and a fair number of them, about 20. Westerman, who is one of the authors that our author talks about, observes that the descriptive praise psalm does not praise a unique act of God that occurred, but summarizes His activity in the fullness of life. And one of the questions that came up last time was between the descriptive and the declarative praise psalms. And the descriptive talk about God in general, all His activity throughout history, throughout being. And it praises Him for that. And we're going to get to declarative in a minute.
Psalm 145. David's Psalm of Praise. I will extol thee, my God, O King,
Example.
and I will bless thy name forever and ever. Every day will I bless thee, and I will praise thy name forever and ever. Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. One generation shall praise thy works to another, and shall declare thy mighty acts. I will speak of the glorious honor of thy majesty, and of thy wondrous works. And men shall speak of the might of thy terrible acts, and I will declare thy greatness. They shall abundantly utter the memory of thy great goodness, and shall sing of thy righteousness. The Lord is gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger, and of great mercy. The Lord is good to all, and his tender mercies are over all his works. All thy works shall praise thee, O Lord, and thy saints shall bless thee. They shall speak of the glory of thy kingdom, and talk of thy power, to make known to the sons of men his mighty acts, and the glorious majesty of his kingdom. Thy kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and thy dominion endureth throughout all generations. The Lord upholdeth all that fall, and raiseth up all those that be bowed down. The eyes of all wait upon thee, and thou givest them their meat in due season. Thou openest thine hand, and satisfiest the desire of every living thing. The Lord is righteous in all his ways, and holy in all his works. The Lord is nigh unto all them that call upon him, to all that call upon him in truth. He will fulfill the desire of them that fear him. He also will hear their cry, and will save them. The Lord preserveth all them that love him, but all the wicked will he destroy. My mouth shall speak the praise of the Lord, and let all flesh bless his holy name forever and ever.
It's descriptive of God's activity in its fullness. It doesn't refer to a specific act. Okay, so everybody see that? Does that make sense? Okay, let's contrast it with the declarative praise psalms, and Psalm 138 is the one specifically that the author refers to, and it talks about how the psalmist, how God has ministered to the psalmist in a specific experience or specific instance. So it's far more specific than the general praise of God. And there are a number of declarative praise psalms. Now, by the way, as we go through, it becomes clear if you start reading some of these that there's so much overlap. There's overlap from one to the other. I mean, often they will call something a messianic psalm based on 2 or 3 lines, and the poem is multiple lines long. The same thing with the declarative versus the descriptive. Sometimes it's a very small difference, but because Estes is an author and a academician, he has to come up with categories, and so he's come up with these
It
categories.
wasn't him, it was Google. Google came up with the cat.
Well, not Google,
Gunkel.
Gunkel.
It's actually Google in German.
Well, I thought you were talking about Google. Google does an awful lot. Google affects, has something to say about everything.
It does. It does. And I do want to point out
Yes.
that I gave an assignment last week that we're still thinking about. So as you're looking at all these different categories of Psalms, be thinking about your favorites when you write your own psalm. That's, to me, a little more important in terms of the categories, because I agree with Jonathan, when we're reading them, it's still going to be tricky because they overlap so much. But
Well,
Kind of like the idea of what a declarative praise psalm is in terms of writing a psalm. So just
Sure. Well,
FYI, you have an assignment.
I'm laying in bed last night when I couldn't sleep.
Oh, no.
I came up with this beautiful psalm,
You did.
but I can't remember it this morning. So
Jonathan, you have to get up and you have to write it.
You wouldn't close it well.
Or
You
fix it.
record it.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to recreate.
Try again,
it.
try again.
So I'll try again. Okay, so again, the declarative, it deals with concerns a rescue, intervention, inversion of a quite concrete situation of distress, which is still fresh in the mind of the speaker of the psalm. Okay, so
This
there's
would
our,
be easier for me to write about.
here's 138 is the example, and says, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but talks about in the day when I cried, thou answered me, and answered. I can't say it. Answered me, and it strengthened me with strength in my soul. Though the Lord be high, yet hath he respect unto the lowly, but the proud he know afar off. And it goes on and it says, basically gives the impression that God has met the needs of this person in a specific situation. And so here's an example. This is actually
I give you thanks, O Lord, with my whole heart. Before the gods I sing your praise. So I bow down towards your holy temple and give you thanks for your steadfast love and your faithfulness. For you've exalted your name and word, lifted above everything, above everything. And on the day I called, you answered me, and you increased my strength of soul. All the kings of earth shall praise you, Lord. Oh, for they have heard the words you speak. They shall sing of the ways of the Lord, for great is the glory of God. For though the Lord is high, he regards the lowly, but the proud he sees from far away, from far away. Though I walk in the midst of trouble, Lord, you save me from the wrath of my enemies. You stretch out your hand, yes, your right hand. Oh, yes, your right hand delivers me. The Lord fulfills his purpose for me. Your steadfast love, it endures forever. Don't forsake your work.
well, certain phrases and refer to the person, say, psalmist can say by the poet God. So that's the gist of that declarative phrase psalm. So, comments so far? Because I'm going to run you through each one of these examples.
I like that
Yeah.
song. Let's just do this for our worship service.
Well, so the next is the enthronement psalms, and number 98 is the one that that and even as you listen to the description, this shows up in many of the psalms. This concept of God being king or ruler and sitting on a throne, and metaphorical language that describes a royal individual, royal, in this case, royal being. And again, there are only a few that Estes claimed or Gunkel would be that are enthronement psalms, although you see that enthronement, that royalty image of God in many psalms. Yahweh is pictured as enthroned, ruling over the created order, the divine warrior who keeps as the champion, who fights as the champion of his people and as the monarch over the nation of Israel. And what I thought was interesting is that it uses a descriptive phrase, Yahweh Malach, Yahweh Bailey, meaning the Lord reigns, the Lord is king, and the Lord has become king. And the author doesn't really go into a lot of detail on this, but in essence, the first translation describes a kingdom, the second, a role, and the third, an event. So the whole gist is that God is king. And here's Psalm 98, which is also used as a basis for hymn 102. And I don't know if this sounds familiar to any of you.
Oh, yeah.
Things of the Lord, a new song. For he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have worked salvation for him. And it goes on from there. And so I figured you need to hear a version of this. Anyone recognize anyone in there?
Very talented
I
trumpet
do.
player.
Yeah.
I know the Eric.
Player in here.
He's not here. The Ericksons, I know the Ericksons are following. Brian.
Ryan, yep.
I know one of the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. I saw the trumpet.
I don't know, what, it was Ryan?
That's right.
I thought it looked like Ryan.
He was down here on the,
Location is
in the-
that?
Right there.
There
dark
he is,
hair.
Ryan, and
Yeah.
there
on
he
the
is.
opposite side. I know her.
So,
Now he's practicing the color.
well, he's just too dedicated.
Yeah.
He's in school
for
music therapy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's got way too many talents.
Well, again,
He's gonna play his trumpet at Christmas.
it's an enthronement psalm picturing God as the ruler over all things. And we have several hymns in our hymnal that we refer to some things. So the next one is the imprecatory psalms, Psalm 109. What does imprecatory mean?
I looked it up and then I forgot.
Don't look it up.
No,
You
I
gotta
did,
know.
I looked it up before, but I have forgotten what it,
Divine judgment.
oh, there it is.
You,
I can read.
Yeah, you did.
You're not
you did
using-
put it- You did put it up there, didn't you?
you folks are no fun at all. This is what it means. So I went to all these psalms looking for bad words, and there are no bad words.
Yes, but it could be placing a curse on somebody.
Exactly.
I,
That's exactly what it is.
I wish you would.
I'm gonna move. That
We
was
have-
kind of aimed my way.
Yeah.
If you look at the sheet I handed out, at least the imprecatory psalms that I can find, there are no hymns to correspond with it.
Oh, God.
In our hymnal, I'm sorry.
Really good, yeah.
So
No, that's not right. That was on the.
Cursing,
it
cursing
uses
his songs.
cursing language
That's a
found in nearly
congregation.
30 psalms,
You could.
but it is consecrated in 8 psalms, which therefore often are called the imprecatory psalms. And it's usually found in lament psalms, where the psalmist calls upon God to deliver them from their enemies by pouring out calamity
Yeah.
upon those who have wronged them. So here's some examples. Psalm 109, appoint someone evil to oppose my enemy. Let an accuser stand at his right hand. When he is tried, let him be found guilty, and may his prayers condemn him. May his days be few. May another take his place of leadership. May his children be fatherless, and his mother and his wife a widow. May his children be wandering beggars. May they be driven from their ruined homes.
That could go to music.
That's
Oh, you. Oh, yeah. Thank you for loving everybody.
Oh, yeah. Praise the Lord.
Well, does that remind you of anybody that we've studied recently? Losing children, wife not staying
Oh,
alive.
Joe.
Joe.
Yeah.
Curse
Yeah.
God and die.
Yeah. Here's 140. Those who surround me proudly rear their heads. May the mischief of their lips engulf them. May burning coals fall on them. May they be thrown into the fire, into miry pits, never to rise. May slanderers not be established in the land. May disaster hunt down the violent. There's another one of these psalms that basically says, may the lips of my enemy be cut off. Sometimes the psalmist got a little gross, violence, and etc. So, so I'm not going to play you a song.
There's no songs to
of
go.
those. I'm
But
sorry.
we must not judge others.
I need to read these Psalms whenever I'm mad at some boy or another.
Right. Read them and don't say them.
Don't say them.
So, okay, that's the imprecatory psalms, and those are the examples. So, moving on to the lament psalms. They may be petitions by individuals if they approach God with their particular needs, or communal as the worshiping community approaches God. So, the thing I'm trying to put up, or the author is trying to make in this, is the lament psalms may be individual. They may be an individual lamenting. They may be communal, where the congregation, the group, is lamenting something of that point, at that point. These are the individual lament psalms. There are a fair number of them. And here are the communal laments. And there is some overlap between the two, obviously. So, but typically they're one or the other. There's 67 lament psalms, which comprise the largest single category of psalm. So out of 150, 67, the author and Google and others classify as lament psalms. So a lot of lamenting going on in ancient Israel.
It makes
So-
sense because we have a tendency when we're upset to, call on the Lord more than when
Yeah.
everything's going okay.
Yeah.
So
Sure does.
Ooh,
This
yeah,
is the Psalm 42. And when you start reading it, as the deer pants for streams of water, sounds like a nature one, doesn't it?
yes.
So my soul pants for you, my God. So there's the lament. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When can I go and meet with God? My tears have been my food day and night, while people say to me all day long, where is your God? These things I remember as I pour out my soul. Why, my soul, are you downcast? Why so disturbed with me? Put your hope in God, for I will yet praise him, my Savior and my God. So that's just portions of Psalm 42 to kind of emphasize the lament part. So what do you think? Do you think there's a psalm, a hymn rather, that corresponds with this psalm? Okay. So what kind of psalm is that?
Nature.
Nature? You're the contrarian in the group, right?
Well,
I
agree
liked
with-
that they had
I
so much
agree with
nature in
Jane.
it,
Yeah.
you know?
I agree with Jane.
Yeah.
I'm glad I could find some common ground for you too. Well, again, there's so much overlap between the two, between the categories is what I'm talking about, whether it's this particular psalm or other. So here's the next one, messianic. I don't think Jane talked about this one very much.
Or very well, but should say.
It's a psalm in which later Christians found language that seemed to prefigure or predict Christ in some way. And here's the list of the psalms that the authors view as being messianic. Gunkel said that these psalms really placing a heavy load on a very little piece of thread. So he was not terribly impressed with that, the connection. So here's the thing. Numerous references in Psalm 22 by the four gospel writers, or are referred to by the four gospel writers, as well as the book of Hebrews, make it clear that among the early Christians, there was a widely held consensus that this psalm, in a special way, anticipates the crucifixion of Christ. So let's take a look at how that happens.
Stay tuned, by the way, this is part of our service today.
Okay,
Just so happens we got Hebrews for the service.
this is a preview of things to come.
Yeah.
So here's an example. Psalm 22, the very first verse says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And when I was taught to sing cantata on the crucifixion of Christ, I think it was called, and it was written by a church member, they taught us to sing Eli Eli lama sabachthani. Now, that is quite different than if you look up how to pronounce it on YouTube, you get about 5 different pronunciations. So you can say it any way you want, but it still means, my God, why have you forsaken? In verse 6 to 8, but I am a worm. My reading is not very good today. But I am a worm and not a man, scorned by everyone, despised by the people. All who see me mock me. They hurl insults, shaking their heads. He trusts in the Lord. They say, let the Lord rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. And the bold phrases I think you will see appear in the story of the crucifixion. And then verses 16 to 18, dogs surround me, a pack of villains encircles me, they pierce my hands and my feet. All my bones are on display. People stare and gloat over me. They divide my clothes among them and cast lots for my garment. Yeah. There's a parallel between the story of the crucifixion and what is listed in Psalm 22.
Your second section there
Mhm.
also makes me think of Job's wife. When she said, when he's going so bad, and she
Yeah.
says, well, you need to give up on him because he's not helping you.
Yeah, the whole they mock me, they hurl insults, shaking their heads. Sounds very much like the friends of Job. So there's the messianic examples. So now
Question on history.
So crucifixion was a pretty common practice. Was it common for them to divide their clothes and cast lots for their garment? I mean, everybody got crucified, is that how it worked?
I couldn't tell you. I've never thought about that question and never researched it, but I just couldn't tell you.
I think it was common though that they were crucified naked.
Yeah. So that's a good research
So is this
question for you,
predicting
Karen.
Christ, or is this just the practice of crucifixion?
Well, since it appears in Psalms, it obviously has some relevance to what was happening in pre-exilic days, before the exile.
I was gonna say.
Yes. I think we all have to understand the reason why David was under duress here. He had been pursued by Saul and his troops to kill him because Saul was extremely jealous of David and sought his life. So he was being pursued by Saul and his troops. So that's
True.
what brought on this lamentation of David, because he was, he still trusted the Lord. He still believed in God, of course, but the humanness was afraid. He didn't want to be killed by Saul and his troops.
Sure.
Oh, and I was gonna add, that was pre-Roman times, so, and I thought only the Romans did crucifixion, so was he killed some other way where they pierced his hands and his feet, divided his clothing? I mean, he's king, so he wouldn't have good clothes, so.
And again, I can't answer you, but I can tell you that David wasn't, his side wasn't pierced. I mean, he may have been hearing that, but his side wasn't pierced. His clothes weren't divided. So here's a good question. And keep in mind, David didn't write, sing all the Psalms. They were done by other individuals for a period of time. So
The scholars do think he wrote 22, right? I mean, obviously there's a lot of arguments, but
yeah,
that's interesting. I like the point
it
there.
does raise some interesting questions I had considered. So thank you for that.
Well, this would be a familiar Psalm 2, the Jews of the day of Jesus's day and after.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they could go back and go, hey, that sounds very familiar.
Right.
That's, they could have woven it into their story.
Okay.
Exactly.
But it is an interesting thing whether there were crucifixions back at that time that would, but it doesn't say the person was crucified, but it does say that they were hands and pierced hands and side pierced. So I don't know. I have to go do some more research on that to know better.
If the winner's right this week, that guy was done.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot that John doesn't know.
Come on, yeah. There's a lot.
Okay, let's move on to nature guns, or Psalms. They're not a separate category or genre, but a subgroup of the descriptive Psalms of praise. These Psalms focus their praise on Yahweh as the creator and sustainer of the physical world. And here's a list of them. Hymn 98, based on Psalm 148. And the Jews uniquely view a transcendent God who had created nature, thus removing the pagan gods or the various objects of nature. And keep in mind that prior to this, prior to the monotheism of Judaism, there were many local deities. There were nature. There were gods or deities associated with different aspects or different portions of nature. Says God and nature are separate, and there's no attempt to populate streams and trees with local deities. So here's all creatures of God and King.
This is
What is
poet. And also the nature.
so here you go. Here I'm just going to play it up for the first two verses.
Just like in church.
told you, I was gonna give you a couple.
Yeah,
Uh,
you started to see
You
the
didn't warn
first
us
one.
that there wasn't an
I was
introductory
gonna say,
verse.
yeah.
I was,
That's-
gonna-
I was
an
on the
introduction.
second one when you guys started saying.
That's okay.
You're me on.
My paper.
okay, so anyhow, here's, this is a nature hymn. And, it doesn't want to go, doesn't want to let go. So let's move on to, Psalms or Songs of Trust. And number 46 is the example used by the author. They are distinguished by a stated confidence in Yahweh and God. And here's a list of that they claim are trust songs. And I always say they claim because, again, you're going to find other ones that reference some kind of trust or belief that God will save the individual. God is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. That's from Psalm 46, verse 1. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. That's verses 7 and 11. And by the way, it's repeated. Same verse, both 7 and 11. Throughout the Old Testament, Yahweh is presented as sovereign over creation and history. This truth is the foundation for trust. And I thought this was an interesting quote by Craigie, who is, again, an author, quoted by our author. He observed, because God controls both history and nature, the chaotic threat which both may offer to human existence may be faced fearlessly. The very worst manifestation of chaos is merely a threat, for the Creator has mastered chaos. And so, is 46 in its entirety. And what I'm going to do is, one of the things I think there was a mention of last time of what it would have sounded like in Hebrew. So I tried to find somebody speaking this and speaking in Hebrew, one of the Psalms. Not this one, but no, I take it back. I've lost my order of my notes. Bottom line is this particular one is, I'm going to play a song for you. I'm going to play you two songs out of this category. Psalm 46 is in the next song for another hymn of trust.
Oh, come behold the works of God, the nations at his feet. He breaks the bow and bends the spear and tells the wars to cease. Almighty One of Israel, you are on our side. We walk by faith in God who burns the chariots with fire. Lord of hosts, you lead us, with us in the fire, with us as a shelter, with us in the storm. You will lead us through the fiercest battle. Oh, where else would we go but with the Lord of fierce and great, you lift your voice to speak. The earth it bows and all the mountains move into the sea. Oh Lord, you know the hearts of men, and still you let them live. Oh God, who makes the mountains melt, come wrestle us and win. Oh God, shelter The oceans roar, you are the Lord of all, the one who calms the wind and waves and makes my heart be still. Though the earth gives way, the mountains move into the sea, the nations rage, I know my God is in control. The oceans roar, you are the Lord of all, the one who calms the wind and waves and makes my heart be still. Though the earth gives way, the mountains move into the sea, the nations rage, I know my God is in control. Lord of hosts, you're with us in the fire, with us as a shelter, with us in the storm. You will lead us through the fiercest battle. Oh, where else would we go but with the Lord of hosts? You are with us in the storm, through the fiercest battle. Oh, where else would we go but with the Lord of hosts?
Seems to go along with the theory that the old concept of God was God of army, as opposed to his army.
Yeah, exactly. Other comments? Other,
It's a lot of the think of a recipe that how it's to visualize person. And that so the enemy aren't the bad. You understand? There may be a conflict, but God was just an understand. And talk about the one thing.
yeah, I can see that, but it still doesn't, even our concept doesn't negate the fact that God is someone we can trust in. Personage, a constant in the universe. So there's another trust one that I tried to allude to last Sunday and got it mixed up. And that's Psalm, the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And it clearly is a trust psalm. But I also, I'm back to the issue of hearing what it sounded like in the original. I found a recording of this, and I'd like to share that.
Psalm 23 in fluent Hebrew. מזמור לדוד.
Wait, I'm going to stop for a second. I want to tell you one thing. As you look at it, you can read it, which I know the printing is small. Hebrew reads from right to left, not left to right. So if you're trying to match up the words that she's saying with the syllables, it's left to right.
Just like Arabic?
I believe that's correct. Yeah. So let me get back here, see if we can get it running.
Psalm 23 in fluent Hebrew. מזמור לדוד. אדוני רואי, לא אחסר. בנאות דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי ישובב, ינחני במעגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת ושמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
Not a problem.
I think she's just going. To mess with.
Okay, I thought, I just like the sound of hearing it in the, for whatever it's.
And I go, I
Yes.
just wanna, oh,
I
they
think
also have the transliteration, so that underneath, right underneath.
yes. Right,
So, which is the only way I can read it.
I heard David.
Yeah.
So, to make a point here, Psalm 23 is probably the most quoted psalm in the book of Psalms. You know, secular people and people who don't go to church much, you know,
Mhm.
vast majority of Americans know about the 23rd Psalm.
okay, then on to wisdom psalms. These are references, includes references to the Old Testament literature, wisdom literature, found in two types of books. Traditional wisdom found in Proverbs, which tries to answer the question, how does life work? I thought that was kind of an interesting summary. And speculative wisdom in Job and Ecclesiastes, which by contrast says, why doesn't life work the way how it should? Why doesn't it work the way we think it should? So the wisdom psalms tackle that, and Psalm 127 is an example that they use. They're found in the two major books, and Gunkel lists a certain group here. Says their wisdom poetry in Psalms. Their purpose was didactic, in other words, instructional. And Moenigel, who is his student, basically listed a group that said are intended for non-cultic private instruction. What do you think non-cultic private instruction is?
Personal instruction.
Okay, okay. And not necessarily temple worship, which would be more cultic. And so here's one example, and these are excerpts from 127. Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the guards stand watch in vain. In vain you rise up and stay up. Let me try again. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring, a reward from him. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be put to shame when they contend with their opponents in court. So those are just examples of wisdom psalms from Psalm 127. Okay, we have just enough time for me to complete my apology, specifically to Dorothy for conflating Psalm 23 with the Lord's Prayer Testament. And so you have a handout which has the Swahili Baba Yetu, which means our Father, and the English version there. You've got that. So
You want me to read it?
I'm going to let them read it, unless you're dying to do so.
Well, the thing is, those words are all out of the book.
Okay,
I have my Kiswahili Bible.
okay,
Follow along and see the difference of all little words.
okay. Go
Okay.
for it.
Nice and loud.
Mbinguni is heaven.
Mhm.
Yetu, anything, Etu is our. Yetu, Metu, Detu, depending on the, or everything rhymes from here. Baba Yetu, Uliye Mbinguni, Jina lako litukuzwe. Jina lako. Baba Yetu, Uliye Mbinguni, Jina lako litukuzwe. Ufalme wako uje, mapenzi yako yatimizwe, hapa duniani kama huko mbinguni. And this is, give us our food. Utupe leo riziki yetu, utusembe deni zetu, kama sisi nasi kwasamba hivyo wadeni wetu. And probably our debts. Na usitutie majaribuni, lakini utuokoe na yule mwovu, kwa kuwa ufalme wako na nguvu na utukufu hata milele. Amen. That is the kingdom.
Okay,
So,
Thank you.
yeah, that's good. That's very enlightening. I understood every word you said.
when she was reciting the,
I do want to share, I'm sorry, go ahead.
when she was reciting the 23rd Psalm in Hebrew, I could pick up some words because Kiswahili is about half, well, it's about half Bantu, and then the other half is some Portuguese.
Okay,
So
well, I'm
So are
I'm
there
rushing a
different
little.
Swahili translations of the Bible like we have in English?
probably, I got
Yeah.
this one. So,
You can just say that you got the modern version.
yes, okay. Well, this may be a modern version too, so I want to play this real quick since we're running out of time.
Someone just like you to give you organs.
Baba yetu yetu liye mbinguni yetu yetu amina. Baba yetu yetu liye jina lako litukuzwe. Baba yetu yetu liye mbinguni yetu yetu amina. Baba yetu yetu liye jina lako litukuzwe. Tupe leo chakula chetu tunachohitaji, utusamehe makosa yetu kama nasi tunavyowasamehe wale hutukosea, usitutie katika majaribu, lakini utuokoe na yule mwovu milele. Baba yetu yetu jina lako litukuzwe. Amina. Baba yetu yetu liye jina lako litukuzwe. tu tu na chovita ji ut same makosa ye tu he domina si tu me aveva same he wale ut kosea ustituti katika masharibu lakini tu ogoe na yule muore lele.
Yeah, it's adapted to be a course. We feel like we've done.
Sure,
prayer and
sure,
psalms.
yeah.
We add phrases for reading and several. They sound good.
Anybody know who was singing there?
Really?
BYU
Mormon men?
University Men's Choir.
Oh,
Yeah.
Men's
choir.
choir.
So very nice haircuts.
White
shirt.
Next Sunday, I've held it over, but next Sunday, Dennis is teaching Proverbs.
I assume we're done with Psalms.
We are, unless you want to go further.
Proverbs is fine with me.
Okay,
Maybe not.
so just be prepared to discuss every verse and every chapter in Proverbs. Thank you, folks.
Congratulations, Jonathan. I wasn't sure you could do all that.
I know, that
Well,
was
I was
amazing.
rushing.
That was amazing. I want that. Can you email it to me?